Angelo Ponzi.
I am Angelo Ponzi, your host here at the Business Growth Cafe, and thank you for joining us. Today at the cafe, I'm excited to have Chris Schultz, president and publisher of Orange Coast Magazine, to discuss the importance of print and magazine advertising in today's digital world. Chris, welcome.
Thank you, Angelo. It's a pleasure to be here.
I'm very excited to have you here, and before we get started, why don't you take a moment, tell the audience about yourself and about the publication.
Sure, happy to do so. I have been here in Southern California for 22 years. I'm originally from the New York area. Early on in my career, I worked for a long time in the travel publishing field, which allowed me to travel the world and live wildly above my means. It was fantastic. My wife and family and I came out here 22 years ago, and I have been involved in city and regional magazine publishing ever since.
Okay. All right, fantastic. Well, first, I was doing it in my little research. First, congratulations. Orange Coast was established in 1974 and is the oldest continuously published lifestyle magazine in the region. That's unbelievable. That's fantastic. I have been here a little longer than 22 years and certainly seen a lot of changes in this community and certainly seen a lot of publications come and go. So this is a great feat, if you will, to have this kind of continuous publications. So let's start off as looking at today and then looking at that evolution. How has the publication changed? And more importantly, how has your advertisers changed and how you reach advertisers?
Well, Orange Coast is really a unique product. The moniker for the magazine is that it is the magazine of Orange County. And the fact is, in 45 years, Orange County has grown as a community and as a market, and Orange Coast reflects that change and that growth. And so we have grown up just as our community has. In this entire time, ultimately, our mission has not changed. Fundamentally, our mission is to engage, entertain, and inform our audience about Orange County, and at the same time offer businesses a very effective way to reach a targeted and affluent audience.
Okay. So when we talk about lifestyle and affluency, I mean, so who is that audience segment here in Orange County? I mean, I know that we're in an affluent, certainly, community, but it's not everybody. So how do you segment and really get into targeting your publication to the audiences here in Orange County?
Well, Orange County is, when I moved out here, I barely knew where Orange County was. And I knew it was somewhere stuck between San Diego and Los Angeles, but it was sort of an amorphous place. And the reality is this is a very powerful market in itself. You know, there are 3 million people that live here. It's the same size as Phoenix, Scottsdale, or Minneapolis, St. Paul. We're the 6th most populous county in the country. And certainly this is the most affluent county in Southern California. So it is a force to be reckoned with. So our readers, Orange Coast is available. You can buy it on newsstands in 250 places. So we have visibility in virtually all parts of Orange County. Most of our readers tend to be on the more affluent side. So, of course, most of our circulation you're going to see in the more affluent coastal communities, but also pockets of wealth that are inland. It could be the Yorba Lindas of the world. It could be Villa Park. It could be Coto de Caza, so on and so forth. So, again, we're here to serve everyone, but we have a tendency to skew a little bit on the higher end.
Okay. Well, certainly you talked about the influency of Orange County, and the Orange Curtain is a phrase that we've all heard. When I first moved here from New York, another New Yorker, I moved to Santa Monica. And then about 6 months in, I actually got a job in an agency was at MacArthur and Red Hill. And boy, has it changed over the years. But that premise of the Orange Curtain really still exists because I mean, you can almost see it sometimes when you're driving into Orange County, how the roads change and things like that. So anyway, it's a really wonderful community, and the way that changes. So if we think about kind of magazine advertising in today's world, right? We become digital. I mean, we came kicking and screaming at first. Now we embrace it. So really, if you think about the combination of services that a publication such as yourself, print alone doesn't necessarily provide all the kind of the strategies for advertising agencies. So what are those combinations of programs that you offer as a publisher besides the print vehicle?
Well, the reality is, in this day and age, in a rapidly changing media environment, you have to be more than just a single product. You have to be able to reach people wherever they are, however they want to be reached. And we learned that with magazines. I mean, there's an old joke that if the only tool that you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail. And for a long time, Orange Coast was a standalone single monthly publication and went along very happily with that. That's not the way the world is anymore. And so we learned that you have to be able to diversify. So the core of our product line is that we have a monthly magazine. We now have a whole portfolio of specific printed publications that go along with it. We have an arts magazine, we have a design and decor magazine, we've got food magazines, custom publishing, but we also have digital assets that go along with all of those. In the beginning, those were just very simple websites, but now we engage with our audience who sign up to be part of our insiders. We have very strong online relationships with a very great group of an audience here in Orange County as well. So it is absolutely a combination of reaching people, sometimes in print, sometimes digital, sometimes on their computer, mobile, wherever they may be.
Okay, so basically serving up the publication and the content, no matter what channel they're using. So you mentioned several publications that are kind of sister publications or kind of combination. Can you go into a little bit more about that? Because obviously that's a strategy in the sense of broadening out, get beyond just one property, if you will. So how do these publications fit in your strategy? And is the audience changed, or is it the same audience?
Well, that's a wonderful question, Angelo. Orange Coast, as a lifestyle magazine, it has a little bit of everything. Every single issue. It's going to have arts. It's going to have entertainment information. It's going to have great restaurant content. It's going to have profiles of interesting people, etc. Home design, decor, real estate, etc. But we also realize that there are certain people that want to go deeper into a category. And that's why we've really created more pure play publications. A couple of years ago, I happened to be very, very fond of the arts and come from a family that has a lot of artists in it. And as a result, we decided to create Premier OC, the only publication for Orange County wholly focused on the performing and visual arts. We decided to create a design and decor publication wholly focused on Orange County. We have taken a lot of the great food content that we have throughout the year in Orange Coast, and we've repackaged it and repurposed it into a magazine called OC Eats. We have a lot of great medical and coverage and health and beauty. We now have a publication called OC Health. Later this year, we're going to go into a whole new market. We're going to create a new publication called Baby and Beyond and create an event, an experiential part of it that goes along with that. So again, we're looking to serve the market in a couple of different ways, have new things that we can give to our existing audience, but at the same time look to expand the audience.
Sure. Well, and this is actually news to me, so thank you for sharing that. Verticalization and segmentation as a marketer and a market researcher, that's always top of mind for me, is how do you take one audience and really divide it up and not use a silver bullet, if you will, or a single bullet to try to get all of the audience. You started talking about experiential. And that is so important these days when we start thinking about events. And I know you do events, and I've been to some of your events. And it really gives an opportunity for that kind of face-to-face with your advertisers and the brands, if you will. So let's talk about events as a strategy and how important that is in the overall communications mix.
Well, it is extraordinarily important because it brings the product and it brings the relationship to life. For many years, we've had very loyal subscribers and readers who get Orange Coast every single month. But it is sort of a one-way communication when you do that. You serve them the magazine, you hope they read it, or our feedback is that they do, they like the publication. But it's a whole nother animal when you can get to sort of look somebody in the eye, face to face, and interact with them. So we do a handful of events that are curated and really well done. We have a fantastic marketing team to execute these. We do a handful of events each year that are highly focused. We do a restaurant event that's coming up, as a matter of fact, and it's a perfect example of what we do well. We have great content related to dining and cuisine in the magazine. And once a year, every April, we do a best restaurants issue. Well, shortly afterwards, on the 11th of April, we will do a best restaurants event. And 10 of the folks that we have tapped as the best new restaurants, best new chefs in Orange County, who we are highlighting in the April issue, will all come and cook for our guests at this event that we're doing on the 11th of April. So it's a fantastic opportunity for our audience to be able to sample something, to meet people in the flesh. It's also a wonderful opportunity for all the restaurateurs and our sponsors to be able to meet our audience face to face.
Are the events kind of separate as far as I'm looking not only for you but strategically? If you think about building out a communications plan, obviously we're talking to consumers. This is not really a B2B play. When you put a buy together, so you know, but the audience may not know, or I probably told them 100 times. I grew up in the advertising industry, so when we look at putting together a media buy for our clients and looking at the extensions of products we can bring beyond a print or a broadcast buy, things like that. So when you're talking to advertisers, how important when they're putting together their plans, do the digital and the print and the events and kind of all that integration? I'm a big believer in integrated marketing. How do they all play, and how do you propose all that?
Well, Angelo, it's a wonderful question. And the fact is, that really boils down to the communication and the relationship that you have with your clients. And the most important thing to be able to ask a client of yours is, what are you trying to achieve? And in the old days, we would go in and try to sell them advertising in the magazine. But the fact is, you have to look at this in a little bit of a holistic way. Because we all consume information differently across a lot of different platforms, we also want our clients, our marketing partners / advertisers, we want them to be able to reach our audience or our audiences across a variety of ways. So we love to have a dialogue with our customers to be able to say, how can we best serve you? Maybe it's an ad in a magazine, maybe it's digital outreach, maybe it's experiential. In the most cases, the most effective way is to have a little bit of all of it.
Do you, when you're working with, whether it's the agency or direct, I mean, I look at it as a marketer, I always look at the customer journey, and you said it, consuming the right information at the right time, and how do you make sure you're in that journey and in that decision process? Do you dig down and work right with the agencies? I'll pick on agencies or the client, and making sure that the maps that they hopefully have laid out for their clients, showing them how you can fit in, or bringing those kinds of your customers' journey as they go through here in Orange County. So how do you interact with a marketing firm?
As somebody, Angelo, who used to work a lot with ad agencies, my preference is, whenever possible, to have a dialogue with the client, as opposed to just dealing with an ad agency. Because at the end of the day, the client knows what they are trying to achieve. And of course, in many cases, it is utterly a partnership between the client and the agency. But the more that we understand about what keeps the client up at night, what are they trying to achieve, what are their hopes, dreams, fears, the better opportunity we have to be able to craft something that really works and allows them to achieve their goals.
Okay. All right. That sounds good. I noticed, and you mentioned it when we were talking, and I noticed it on your website, it was talking about custom publication. So what is, I think I know what that is. So what is that?
Well, the fact is, for 45 years, Orange Coast has told stories. And most of those are letting people know about things that are in Orange County, stuff that they didn't know about in our community, great things to do, restaurants, interesting people, etc. The fact is, these are skill sets that we have. We know how to tell a story in words. We know how to illustrate it in beautiful art and content. And this is a skill set that we can offer to any company that is trying to get a message out there. So we have the ability to to write and create and design content, work with various companies in order to help them with their messaging. Could be business to business, could be business to consumer.
Okay. I've actually, and I've dealt with a lot of publications over the years. I can't actually recall any publication offering that service. So it sounds like you may have a niche in that, but how well accepted is that?
Well, it's something that we continually are telling people about.
Okay.
Because it's a skill set they may not know that we have, so we certainly promote it. We work closely here in this market with a number of private sector businesses. We also work very heavily on the tourism side to help promote tourism to Orange County. We do the visitors guides for Anaheim, the largest destination in all of Southern California. We do it for Huntington Beach. And it's a wonderful example. These are two communities that are 12 miles apart as the crow flies. Yet the look and feel of the two markets is completely different. The look and feel of the products that we create for them are completely different because they have to reflect the market that they serve.
Okay. So that leads me then as the president and publisher, and you're leading me down a path of innovation. Not, I have a magazine, I'm going to sell you ad space,
Yep.
is what you said. So we look at innovation. So how do you ensure that you're continually innovating for the publication and all the different properties, and ultimately, of course, for your advertisers?
Well, the best thing you can ever do is to get out of the office and talk to people. Be out in the community. The more that you talk to people, you find out about what people need, what people want. And in doing so, sometimes you can uncover you can find a need in the marketplace. And we know that there are only a couple of ways of really to try to grow our business. We want to find new, and this is what you had touched on before. You want to find new products and services that you can offer to your existing audience. At the same time, you want to find products and services you may be able to offer to new audiences. The Baby and Beyond concept is something that we're doing in this area. Most of our readers are not people who are about to have a baby, but we know that this is a group of people who are going through a time in their life when they need a lot of information. They need to buy a lot of things for a new home in the first couple
Right.
of years of childhood, and so we want to service a new market and a new community.
I love that. I talk about, in simple terms, when I think about selling, it's sell more to the people that you already have and sell more to new people. And I think that sometimes is just overlooked, that we tend to focus on that new acquisition. Yet a question I ask actually a bunch of CEOs here in Orange County not too long ago is, would your clients recommend you? And they all, about 90%, said, yeah, absolutely. And then the next question I asked was, do they know all the products and services you sell? And about 10% said yes. My thought is, how can they recommend you if they really don't understand what you sell? And it sounds like you're solving that by really broadening it up and making sure that the broad properties that you offer are understood by your clients.
We are trying to, but it is an ongoing process.
Yeah.
People still think of us as a monthly magazine that's been around for a long time, and it's an education process that we have to let people know that we have different ways to serve their needs.
Okay. All right. It's been a long time since I did do a media plan. It's about 10 years ago. In those days, when I was looking at print, it was about looking at the audit of the publications, and I see that you're audited. So that added a lot of value to me that I could quantify, if you will, of the audience. So how do you feel about the value that being an audited publication brings to the customer?
Okay. Well, to those of your listeners who may not be familiar with what an audit is, essentially it's a third-party proof of that you are physically producing the publications, and that they are getting out into the right people's hands. The fact is, in this day and age, you hear every single day about digital ad fraud and bots and fake clicks and things like that. We are absolutely determined to show our readers and our advertisers that we really are reaching the market that they are paying to produce. to reach rather. And so for many years, and we have always had an annual audit third-party company that comes out and really can show a great deal about who's getting the magazine. They also do research along with it to find out the demographics and habits of our readers. And it's crucial for us because we learn from it, and it's also important in every conversation we have with our advertisers.
All right, fantastic. Yeah, I'm a big believer in that. So think I have time for two more questions. One that I didn't ask you in the beginning that I wanted to, and I ask of all my guests. When you think about growing your business, what keeps you up at night?
Well, what keeps me up at night really is trying to figure out things that are needed and ways to serve this community in a rapidly changing community. And at the same time, it's a rapidly changing media market. So what we're trying to figure out are what are the products, goods, and services that we can offer, and what are the platforms that we can offer them on.
Okay. Do you do any formal research? And I'm a qual and quant guy,
Sure.
so do you do formalized research, or is it more one-on-ones with the audience?
No,
How do you gather that?
every single year, as part of our audit, we do a reader study, finds out the demographics of everything from wealth to male versus female, how much engagement time is spent with the publication, etc. Do they value the ads as much as they value the editorial content, etc. And also we reach out a lot to our readers to find out what parts of the magazine that they engage the most.
All right. So last question, I'm going to ask you to take your publisher's hat off.
Okay.
And what recommendations, when you're talking to a potential advertiser or just somebody out in the market and they're thinking about developing their media plan, what are some of the recommendations, a couple suggestions that they should really look at when putting together their program?
Well, very basically, know your product. Make sure that it's unique from other products out there and know how to articulate what the unique selling proposition is that you have. Whether you are a furniture store or a jewelry store or a legal firm or whatever it may be, doesn't matter. The other part is figure out who your target audience is. And then you want to put together a plan to reach that target audience across a variety of ways. That this could be print, it could be digital, it could be experiential, etc. The most important part of that I would stress is that do not just think that you can do this once. The most effective thing for any marketing program is to have repetition. The first time somebody listens, they might not be in the mood and they might not be ready, but you have to be able to repeat the message over and over. Don't think that you can run a promotion, run an ad once, and that you will get a flood of business. You have to maintain visibility in front of your target audience.
Okay. I remember we always used to say to a client, you have to run an ad at least 3 times before you ever start to get any kind of impression. Is that still the norm?
Well, I think that you have to touch people in many ways. I don't know what the magic number is.
Okay.
But certainly there are 3 parts of getting a customer. You have to create awareness. Mm-hmm. After people see it for a while, you hope that they're going to have what's called trial. They're going to try the product.
Right.
And God willing, from trial of the product, you create loyalty.
Right.
But before you're going to convince anybody, people are skeptics by nature. I think that you have to keep your message in front of them several times before they're willing to experiment, try you, and God willing, turn into a loyal client.
Great advice. And again, I'm a big believer in integration. So it isn't one touch, it's multiple touches and over a period of time. I saw this chart not too long ago. It's how many touches does it take to actually go from first impression to a sale. I used to say if they didn't respond to me by 4, I was out. Well, it turned out to be 89% of people were like me in bailing, and would take to 7 to 12 touches before you could actually get the opportunity to convert them. So I was bailing out too early. I don't do that anymore. So thank you so much. This has been a great conversation, and as I always say at the end of these, they go by really fast. The time has just flown. I really appreciate it. So why don't you take a moment, tell the listeners how they can contact you and get a sample of the publication and things like that, and let's go from there.
Well, certainly, Orange Coast, we encourage anybody and everybody to subscribe to it. You can find information. You can purchase the magazine at 250 locations in Orange County. You can visit us at orangecoast.com. Anybody wants to contact me personally, feel free. My email address is then my last name, SCHULZ, at orangecoast.com.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you again for joining us at the cafe today. You can find out more about me and read my blogs or view my shows at theponzigroup.com or connect with me on LinkedIn. And of course, hopefully you'll subscribe to the show at the Business Growth Cafe. Are we now on most of the platforms around the world? iTunes, iHeartRadio, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Spreaker, and many, many more. Join me next week for lunch at the Business Growth Cafe.
Thank you for listening to today's discussion at the Business Growth Cafe with your host, Angelo Ponzi. Take a moment to subscribe to this podcast and visit our website at www.businessgrowthcafe.com. Read Angelo Ponzi's blogs at www.theponzi.com.